Hey yo, what's good, gang? It's your boy Luminati15, and you have just tuned in to DPG TV, Talk That Shit podcast. And today, we are here at the Hip Hop Hall of Fame on 106th Street and Park Avenue. So today I got a special event for y'all. It's exclusively once a year. We just celebrated hip hop's birthday in the Bronx. So I had to pop out for the Graffiti Hall of Fame. That's one of the 4 elements of hip hop. So we got a special thing going on for y'all. We bringing y'all an interview with Lazaris, the Top Don, and the legendary Cose T.D.S. And we're gonna take a walk around the Hall of Fame, show y'all different pieces. And we even got interview coming up with some of the organizers and people in charge of making this happen every year. So stay tuned, and you know what it is, your boy Luminati15. Let's get it.
All right, you already know what it is. Your boy Lazaris, the Top Don, and I'm here to bring you a live special broadcast and interview. We on Talk That Shit podcast today. You already know. Want to shout out the Graffiti Hall of Fame. Want to give a big shout out, of course, to one of the legendary pioneers. Of course, shout out to the 6-line Cypher. Before there was a 6-line Cypher, this man was already running the 6 train, along with my big brother, rest in peace, Joey TDS. There's a special tribute to him. I got to give a shout out to the man himself, my big brother, the one and only Cose T.D.S. What's up, my brother?
What's going on, man? I appreciate all the accolades. But, you know, we're here to show love and show respect to my brother that I knew for over 40 years. We rode on trains together. Joey TDS, we went to high school together.
Yes.
And I remember when he first started running the Graffiti Hall of Fame, which is like 35 years.
All right, so that right there is one of the things that we want to touch on. First off, rest in peace to Joey TDS. Shout out to the Graffiti Hall of Fame. You said 35 years. One of the questions I have, in your 35 years that you have seen him running this Graffiti Hall of Fame, may he rest in peace, what kind of changes have you saw? What kind of change did you see him bring, not only as a Latino graffiti artist, but as a community activist? What did you see Joey do? I know he was your friend, but the world needs to know what you seen him do, the impact.
Well, first and foremost, my hairs are like standing up right now because he was really like a brother to me, and I seen the evolution. I remember when, before this was really the Graffiti Hall of Fame, before they were doing events, you had a guy named Vulcan, you know, you had Des, K. Slay, that were doing pieces here, you know,
Rest in peace, K. Slay.
You know, this is all before all the events. It was just an open schoolyard, and that's how it all started. And then, you know, it came a time when Joey took over, but you know, we're here. You know, he's no longer with us. We lost him last year. He went back to Source. You know, as you can see, it's a tribute here done by BG 183, which is another good friend of mine.
Shout out BG, shout out
Tats
Crew. Shout out Tats Crew.
Tats Crew, the Mural Kings. And we all rode on trains, man, back in the early 80s. You know, and that's what it is.
Thank you for sharing that experience. Recently, I know they had gave an appreciation award for Joey. Can you touch bases, you know, on that, the appreciation award that they gave for him?
Well, I collaborate pretty much with Hip Hop Boulevard.
Yes.
It's an organization that I frequently collaborate with. Actually, we just did Hip Hop Day, Bronx Hip Hop Day, around my neighborhood at a school which I was in junior high school. MS 224.
Nice.
It used to be called IS 139 Alexander Berger.
Shout out Al Pizarro.
This is our second year doing that event where we get spray cans and we divide them amongst all my friend graffiti artists.
Wow.
And, what was the question again exactly?
You know, the question was, you know, about the appreciation award for Joey.
Yeah, so the certificate appreciation award was given through Hip Hop Boulevard.
Shout out.
Recognizing his efforts in the community. He's been doing this, like I said, 35 years at least, minimally. And he's done a lot for the community. People come out every year. This is a worldwide destination.
Yes.
You know, Hip Hop Graffiti Hall of Fame, 106 in Park. You're like, who doesn't know about this space? People come from, we just finished seeing some Italians straight from Italy. They come from all over the world to visit this place.
That's right.
And thanks to Joey TDS for doing that. He played an instrumental role in doing this.
Yes, shout out Joey TDS. Rest in peace to him. You know, for the world and people that don't know, you know, I'm Lazaris the Top Don. I'm a superstar artist now. But I remember performing here for Joey TDS, you understand? And it's such a small world because I never knew that he was my brother's best friend, you understand? And one of the closest friends. I met Joey a separate way to one of my other friends named Hector, all right, when we was hanging out in the Boricua Cocina. And while we was hanging out in the Boricua Cocina, they told me, this is the man that you got to meet to be able to spread your talent, especially if you were an upcoming Latino artist. So I already knew I had to make my way down here and make it. Shout out to Joey, because I remember when I met him, he told me, I'm a tough cookie. You know, I don't just like any artist. And he let me come up and rock the microphone, and I made history ever since. Rest in peace to him. Also, rest in peace to DJ K Slay, because through my times here, I met K Slay doing graffiti. I got on 200 bars deep and running. Joey was there, part of it as well too, to know when I spoke to K Slay, you know, so I'm always gonna have that as a memory. I love this place. You know, every time I come here, the energy is radiant and it's amazing, and this tribute today touches my soul to be able to do that. Another question that we have, Cose, can you tell us one of your most favorite experiences ever bombing something with Joey? Doesn't matter what piece, what time, day, and age, but let us know, you know, one of your most favorite times that y'all probably bombed something together or looked and said, wow, look at this piece that we've done with each other.
I'll give you a better story than that.
All right.
My brother Joey, you remember, right? I know you still over here. You're on the other side. You know, I have another guardian angel on the other side watching over
That's
me
right.
and my brethren, all my hip hop, you know, founders, you know, graffiti brothers. You know, I got the brother right here, Wicked Gary. He's a good one of the pioneers way before my time.
Salute.
You know, I show him nothing but respect. But me and Joey actually went one day to the Ghost Yard. And for those that don't know who the Ghost Yard is where you get all trains. This is where you could catch every train, the 1, the 2, the 3, all the trains. When you wanted to go out city, we went to the Ghost Yard, the D Yard. And we used to catch all the other trains. One day we went there and we were climbing over the fence, and at that time they had razor barbed wire. It was me, Joey, and Scam TDS. Just for your information, if you don't know what TDS means, it's an acronym for the Death Squad. It's a prolific crew that started in the mid-70s. So back to the story, we were going over that fence. Joey was always a little bit heavy set, and he got stuck in the barbed wire. And I was right behind him, and I actually saved his life because there was blood all over me, and I helped him get out of the barbed wire. Because the more you move on that razor barbed wire, the more it gets in you. So I helped him get out of that. We never forgot about that. But that's my most traumatic experience that I remember with Joe. You know, going to layups, Zoriga Avenue, Middletown Road, Westchester Square. When they used to snow, we used to be in Brook Avenue, inside the tunnel. They used to put them on. That's my home station. But you know, 6 line, I love it. It's the 6 train. And that's what we did. We destroyed the 6 train.
And that right there is an amazing story. I thank Cose T.D.S. for being able to tell us that here we were live, bringing a special tribute. One of the things that I want to say, you know, I know that Joey's influence has not only influenced the graffiti world, but also the hip hop world in general. Why? Because a lot of artists are still talking about the Graffiti Hall of Fame, everything that's going on throughout this weekend, and it's just amazing to be here with the experience. And thank you, Cose, for coming here and being able to let me interview you. Shout out to Talk That Shit podcast, of course, my partner Luminati and the Graffiti Hall of Fame. This to your brother Lazaris, the Top Don. This special broadcast, and we off this.
Hey, yo, what's good, gang? It's your boy, Luminati15. You know what it is, Talk That Shit podcast. We here at the Graffiti Hall of Fame on 106. and Park Ave, right? So I'm sitting down with a real graffiti OG, Mr. Cose T.D.S. to my left, and my big brother to the right, Lazaris, the top don. And I got a question for y'all. What's your name?
Wonder Artist.
Say that again?
Shock the Wonder Artist, baby.
You know the vibe. So I got a question for y'all, right? Because I live in the Bronx. I'm a Bronxite. And now that we're here at the Graffiti Hall of Fame, I want to bring up a subject. Because lately I've been seeing a lot the hip-hop tours in the Bronx. And I took the time one day to sit by and listen to these individuals and see how they speak about graffiti. And I found it a little bit shocking that they never brought up the hard times that individuals like yourself, Cose, had to go through in the 70s and 80s when you wanted to pursue your passion. You know, at a certain point, graffiti was demonized all across the city, and you guys paid a price for that just because you were passionate about your art and you were passionate about your craft. So I just wanted to know how that makes you feel as an OG to the craft and to the graffiti community, that some of these people would just come into the Bronx and totally just leave out the dark side of graffiti, but present it to these individuals from Europe or the tourists that come down here to New York and just present it as now a glorified artwork without speaking about its truth, that, you know, the dark times that it had in the past. So what can you tell me about that?
First and foremost, like he said, my name is Cose T.D.S. TDS is an acronym for the Def Squad, the infamous Def Squad that started in the mid-70s. But graffiti, just for those who don't know, is part of the culture. Not only is it part of the culture, it is the first element of the culture of hip-hop. Graffiti was created by kids for kids. And if you don't know, Mr. Godfather himself, Kool Herc of hip-hop, was a graffiti artist before he threw that first party in 1973.
At 1520 Sedgwick, right?
So, yes, they called us vandals. Yes, they called us destructive, rebellious, and we were all of the above. Nevertheless, we continue to create our art and finally evolved until they had no choice but to force to recognize us.
Exactly.
And not only did they recognize us, we are now one of the most sought out art forms on the planet. And it makes me feel good that we came a long way, man. We came from oppression, destruction, rebellion, the ghetto, the hood, boogie down, burnt down Bronx, they called us. But yet, here we are. And look, all you gotta do is look around and see how far we come.
So, Cose, can you tell us just like some small details of how hard it was to spray paint back in the day? Because, you know, you had mayors actually come after a lot of your peers and a lot of the people that had the same passion like yourself. And I've done studies and figured out and went into the research that there were people that got hit with 20, 25 years for, you know, doing something they was passionate about, and just literally they named them like vandalizers and just automatically demonized these individuals. And it took 25 years plus after they got that time taken from them to now be honored and classified as official artists. So what can you tell us about that?
Actually, I've really never heard of nobody doing 25 years or a lot of years for vandalism itself, graffiti. But I know for a fact that they looked at us as criminals. Not only did they look at us as criminals, I remember Mayor Koch when he hired Hector Macho Camacho, the boxer,
Nice.
and Alex Ramos, the other boxer, from my neighborhood, to do a commercial that graffiti was for punks. You know, and that's how bad they wanted us.
So they try to use our
Not to-
icons to make y'all look like the bad guys.
That's how bad they wanted us off the transit system. And I get it, you know, some of it is destructive, you know, and it's a form of rebellion, but look at the evolution of graffiti. It started in the 70s, look at the 80s. That's when it was very elaborate. That's my era. You You know, you had dudes doing home cars, CNUA, Dondi. You know, these guys were doing beautiful productions, whole cars. So, you know, they had no choice but to recognize the skill, the talent it took to create these things.
Okay. So let me ask y'all something, because y'all all here are OGs of the Bronx, the culture. I see these tours, and the thing that clicks to me personally in my head is, what does the Bronx gain from this, right? And I honestly believe that these tours, well, this is my idea and the way that I look at it. I believe that these tours should be forced to pay a tax, and that tax should be funneled into situations like this, like the Graffiti Hall of Fame, the Hip Hop Museum, and everything that's literally honoring and making sure that everything for hip hop is documented at this point in time. How would you feel about that?
Honestly, myself, Cose T.D.S, I do my best not to really get into the political aspect of it. I just continue to do what I love to do, which is create art and do exhibitions, sell my art. But I pretty much stay away from the political side of it.
Okay.
But it sounds like a good idea, but you know, we'll wait and see what happens. Maybe you can continue to, you know, bring awareness to that.
Okay. So Laz, what about yourself? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea. The problem is politically, at one time, remember that in the Bronx, it was considered vandalism, even though at the end of the day, it's still the first element and still the first part of the culture. And it wasn't until, remember, that they started a cultural art fund in the Bronx to be able to start giving props to those same artists that you were saying were getting incarcerated for 20 years plus now, which they now have something which is called The Bronx is Beautiful, which is, you know, shout out to Vanessa Gibson and all of them trying to recreate it. The problem is here is that there's no sanctioning body for the tours.
Yeah.
So because there's no sanctioning bodies for the tours, we're just allowing people to come, and I don't mean to say it that way, but come across a state line without even knowing about the culture, that has a vehicle and is giving people of tours of what they call writing on the wall that they know nothing about. Some of these paintings you can go and Google and write about, but I know, because I know you, I've taken the liberty to go and talk to some of these tour guides. Most of them are Arabic or Pakistani.
That is true.
They're not Hispanic, they're not African American or no part of the culture. They're not even from the Bronx, yet alone from the 5 boroughs. One of them, I met him, his name was Aftar. And I had to ask him, not being funny, Aftar, what do you know about tours? He goes, me drive and know to make location. And I was like, wow. So, I don't get into the politics. I know my brother Cose doesn't like it. But at least if we're gonna sanction it, make sure it's someone who knows proper English and knows about the culture, not being disrespectful
and
to any other
Bronx
language.
Based.
Like, make sure he's, if not Bronx based, he should be, but at least New York based.
Yes.
I mean,
indeed.
You don't see me going to Australia telling you I know everything that started in Australia.
Yeah.
You know?
So how about you?
Shout
boss?
out my brother Shock.
So just, I'm gonna piggyback on what he says. First of all, you gotta understand graffiti for years and years is a public art. How do you monitor a tour bus company from driving down the street and stopping for 5 minutes to see the graffiti, for example, on the street side of Graffiti Hall of Fame?
Okay.
Or having the tourists look through the fence and take pictures. Now, you can't blame whoever it is, whether he's foreign, American, or whatever. You can't blame him for knowing the streets of New York and giving you a story of the Graffiti Hall of Fame. It's the same way like me saying you can't drive your car with your family in front of the Empire State Building and take pictures. So as far as the political side of it, it's not a political thing. You can't control that.
Yeah.
You could get a van tomorrow and call it Charlie's Tour, Harlem Tour, and drive around as long as you're not speeding, going through lights, and everything is legal and you're paying taxes on the money that the people pay to take the tour, you can go anywhere and take pictures of anything. The beautiful thing about it is that as the years have progressed, graffiti has gained a lot more respect.
And popularity, yeah.
There's a difference between beautiful graffiti and vandalizing.
Yeah.
Vandalizing neighborhoods. I have more respect for the guys that beautify the neighborhoods with their graffiti than doing garbage graffiti, right?
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I think that it's very hard to monitor. You can't have somebody monitor graffiti.
Well, I don't think it's monitoring graffiti per se. I think it's monitoring the tours. Because I feel like if we can monitor every cab in the city, right, where you have to sign up to be a cab driver, pay your dues, get your license, I feel like we could put a system in play the same way that you see the red bus tours in 42nd Street for these people that have to register and pay their dues to make sure that that due, a percentage of it gets funneled back into redeveloping the Bronx and supporting the graffiti art.
So just like you said, which I agree with you, you use an example of being a cab driver. You gotta pay Liberty for the Liberty license and everything. That gets funneled into the government, right? So whoever's in charge of the tour company that stops in this particular location, they're obviously paying taxes. I want to know what they're doing to use some of that money to supplement this establishment.
Yeah.
Now, I know we have another place called Boone Avenue Walls.
Okay.
We have the Bushwick, I forgot the exact name of it. It's in Bushwick. They got a place in Red Hook. They got Mott Haven, Hunts Point. The warehouses pitch in.
Yeah.
Right? And because everybody's going there and doing what, quote unquote, the vandalized looking graffiti, the warehouses pitch in, and then they donate money to the nonprofit, and they're the ones that provide us with paint.
Okay.
And we go there and we beautify neighborhoods. We're talking about 7 or 8 blocks at a time, which prevents, quote unquote, the ugly graffiti, because the young guys that are not as skilled as the older graffiti artists, they will not paint over your name out of respect to the culture.
Yeah.
So, good luck with trying to monitor that. I wish I could answer that, but I don't think there's an answer. The answer is, if you have a car, you could drive anywhere and take a picture of any building, any graffiti, and if, I don't know how they're going to be able to monetize that, then they could donate, let's say, to this place or to the community.
Yeah.
I think just the artwork alone and the community, and in this community right now that we're talking about, right here in the Graffiti Hall of Fame, that makes the community look more, makes it look pretty.
Yeah.
So it's not as menacing as if it was a disgustingly painted wall or something.
Okay,
so,
that's understandable.
So that's my opinion, right? So,
okay, but I appreciate your opinion.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for sitting down with me and having this conversation. It's your boy Luminati15, Talk That Shit podcast. Lazaris, Top Don, Cose T.D.S.
Shock, the Wonder Artist.
And we're coming directly to you guys from the Graffiti Hall of Fame on 106 and Park Avenue. You know what it is? Your boy Luminati15. We out of here. good, gang? It's your boy Luminati15, and we here with.
Sharif Prophet, Graffiti Hall of Fame.
So we are live directly from the Graffiti Hall of Fame on 106 in Park. Now, my brother, please tell us what is your role in all of this, and we can start off with that.
So, as of right now, I am the event organizer and the curator of the Graffiti Hall of Fame. I stand on the shoulders of other gentlemen who came before me. Joey TDS, he ran it for about 30 years. He had a partner for a period of time named James Top. Joey's passed this year, unfortunately, so I've been left the helm of carrying the torch for the Graffiti Hall of Fame and representation of the artists and the art form here in East Harlem and globally around the world now at this point, because graffiti has expanded well beyond the confines of New York City. It's become a global culture.
So my second question is, hip-hop's been alive, graffiti's been alive just as long as hip-hop. And we all know that it's recorded that graffiti is the first element ever of hip-hop. So what does the element of graffiti mean to you?
So I'm going to do a correction here.
Okay.
Graffiti is the first form of hip-hop, right? So it's basically the first expression is the art itself. And then from there, the evolution happened through dance and then through MCs. And there's other aspects now that have been infused into hip hop. So the foundation of graffiti, for me, it basically is about networking with other artists. You know, we had crews back in the days. That's still a tradition of the art form. You know, and it's about elevation of each other's skills and about acquiring fame. You know, either through getting up, tagging, bombing, or, you know, doing pieces and reaching a skill set level that elevates through every generation.
Now, my third question to you is, me as a Bronxite, I've noticed that now graffiti has a worldwide fame. And I've seen like hip hop tours and tourists come into the Bronx trying to chase behind the element of graffiti. But I've noticed that it's not really speaking on a lot about the dark times of graffiti, where when people wanted to express themselves, you know, there was a repercussion for you chasing your passion. So now that it's accepted and it's a world-known art form, do you feel like the people that had to face those dark times, like the individuals that went to jail, like they deserve to like be brought into the spotlight so they can, you know, be, I wouldn't say compensated, but be rewarded for the stomping grounds that they had to go through and the hard times they had to go through to make graffiti what it is today?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, yeah, for a good portion of time, graffiti was frowned upon. It's always been seen as a rebel art form. You know, misdiagnosed as vandalism and other things. And there are definitely artists that have felt the brunt of that. You know, at the end of the day, there's still a thin line between someone's property and your expression. You know what I mean? So there's all types of stuff that happens on the streets of the street.
Yeah.
For some people, the street is the canvas. You know, some people, their canvas is canvas.
Okay.
You know, so it all depends on one's approach to it. And if someone is willing to take the chances in the graffiti world the way that they have, generations past, you know, subway bombing, they're actively bombing subway trains today.
Yeah.
You know, you've seen it now on IG
that,
and
yeah.
old cars. And I mean, a lot of those guys, they're not from New York City. They're coming from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
To kind of like actively bomb these subway lines, because in the countries they live in, they do that all the time. And they model themselves after what's happened here in New York, which revolutionized the art form itself. And, you know, I feel like over the years, because of the transition of people's, I guess, opinions and perspectives on the art, it has allowed, you know, folks to come above ground and explore other parts of their expression and in different ways. You know, so here in the Hall of Fame, we celebrate a lot of artists. Some of these guys are from the train era, killed the subway lines, moved on and did gallery shows, and some of them are still active in the street activity. You know what I mean? So, to each their own.
All right.
You know, we're not here to judge. We're here to just celebrate the art form here. I have taggers, I have bombers. They come and do their thing on the outside of the fence. Traditionally, this was for the piecers that came and made these big productions, but there's so many different channels for this art, and so many different moments or endpoints of recognition for someone's skill and what they bring to the table, whether it's just a throw up that's iconic, like Coke 2, or gentleman behind me like Totem 2, he's, you know, his technique with spray paint is just out of this world, you know, so hopefully that answers your question.
I got two more questions for you.
Go.
The next question that's coming up, I've been seeing online rumors about the writer's bench on 149th Street possibly being removed. So I wanted to know how you felt about that, and is there a possibility that maybe with the right connections and with the right people that maybe if the writer's bench can be replaced or relocated from 149th Street train station to here, the Hip Hop Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that is a great idea, bro. I never thought about that, but yeah. So, I mean, it's these iconic places that have history to it, like the Hall of Fame, like the Writer's Bench. You know, these were networking spots where before the internet, graffiti artists were the first internet, in my opinion, because we really had a reason to come together and what we wanted to talk about and the things we wanted to talk about and do. You know, a lot of graffiti artists were the first ones that were on the internet, having this exchange with other artists through photography, through the internet when it first came into existence. You know, a lot of people don't understand that either. So the internet is a new thing to a certain degree, but graffiti artists were the first ones that saw the possibility of what the internet could do for us, and that's why graffiti is spread. I mean, not the only reason, but social media has kind of taken it to a whole nother level for the artists and for the community.
Okay.
You know, so to answer your question, fuck yeah, if they could bring the Writer's Bench here, I would love to have it right here.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because that's another piece of our history that might get lost.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing here. We're preserving our history here.
Okay.
This yard was painted in the early 70s by artists like Part 1 and Scheme TMT. These guys, this was the hangout park. Graffiti writers came to practice on the walls and to hone their skills, you know, and it wasn't until 1980, so we're talking about a good 8 to 10 years maybe of artists just coming here, hanging out, talking shit, you know, exchanging plans on what lines they were gonna bomb and just chilling out in the park. To when it officially became organized in 1980 as a recognized place where the artists could practice their art form and not be worried about being fucked with by authorities or anybody else that had an opinion about what they were doing.
So this was the safe zone. This was the where you could be yourself and not be scolded for your art.
You know, so that's what this was, and you know, with the permission of the school here, the Jackie Robinson Complex, we've been able to continue this tradition, celebrate it annually, paint beautiful artwork here for the community to observe. And there's 3 schools that are within this one building. Kids come out here from kindergarten to high school age, and this becomes an inspiration for them.
Okay.
So this is important.
So since you brought up the aspect of the school, my last question for you is gonna be, what are your words for the future generations of graffiti? You know, earlier I was watching how you guys were introducing these young kids to graffiti, giving them graffiti materials, you know, helping them pick a graffiti nickname. So what would be your words for these kids that might gravitate to the art and to the craft? And, you know, do you invite them in? Or do you guys offer resources or centers, you know, to give them like a head start, or any just place of guidance to, you know, build themselves up, the craft and their art?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of a lot of, to answer your question on it, there's a lot of artists here that are actively teaching in schools and after school programs. They do workshops. They also obviously do murals at a lot of the schools.
Yeah.
There are a lot of organizations here that have partnered with a lot of these artists to deliver this programming into schools. We have some ambitions of what we want to do here with the Jackie Robinson Complex, to either infuse some art workshops here with them, summer programming with them. But what I would tell the youth, if your passion is art, do what you want to do what your heart feels, chase your passion. Because that's what I did. I didn't know I was going to wind up here doing this at this age of my life. There's several artists here that are in this art form for the last 20, 30 years, and they live and breathe this every day. You know what I mean? They're living their dreams. They're traveling the world. They're engaging with their elders and their youngers here at this event. It's basically a tradition being passed on here. And that's why you heard my guy on the mic encouraging any audience members, kids that want to participate. Maybe they just observers. But you know how it is, man. You touch that can of paint, you grab that marker, you write your name. It's a feeling that hits your soul.
Yeah.
And you know it's for you or not. You know what I mean? So that's what we're promoting here. You know, it's the art, the culture, the youth, and respect, and, you know, honoring of those that are here before us, that passed this along down to us.
Okay, well, thank you, my brother, for this interview. Big shout out to the Graffiti Hall of Fame for giving us the press and media pass to come here and indulge with you guys and literally put this on video so we can make sure that it lives on forever on the internet and documented. So thank you, my brother. Have a blessed day.
Salute,
and
King.
long live the first art of hip-hop, graffiti, as it is and always will be known. Thank you so much.